Welcome to a case study from Enabling Technologies. Today we're here with Matthew Frehner. He is the Senior Infrastructure Architect at Milliman. Milliman is one of the world's largest providers of actuarial products. Matt, thank you and welcome. How are you today?
Doing great, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Great. Can you explain a little bit about your role there at Milliman?
Yeah, I've been at Milliman about 5 years. I initially came in as a senior IT manager, and the strong need for architecture was identified. And I had started having a passion more for that in my career. And about 2 years ago, I switched in that role and have been focused in on really trying to look at the business architecture and line that up with the technology infrastructure. Heavily focused on the Microsoft stack, Office 365, Azure, and a lot with Teams.
Yeah, great. And I know you did a lot with Intune and device management too. And thank you for sharing today. We're going to zero in on Teams and Teams Voice, since I know that's been a passion project of yours. Can you kind of describe, to start with, what the problems that you were trying to solve when you initiated this project?
Yeah, I mean, for Milliman, it was pretty simple, Chris. So, our main driver really was we already had a strong investment in Link 2013 phone systems. So we had the opportunity to solve that problem because, well, one, they were getting old, they're getting long in the tooth, and we had to do something. So the main driver was for that. But I'm not going to say that's the sole reason. We were also strategically looking for an opportunity to standardize on one phone system. So we not only just saw the here and now of what we got to do with a legacy product, but we also too envision what we could possibly do in the future to replace other legacy phone systems, different competitors. Milliman is a company of many companies, and we're not standardized on one platform. You have Cisco, Avaya, different Nortel, AT&T. We have a plethora of different phone providers and systems that we're using. Microsoft was a clear path for us. It was just the path of least resistance. We sure challenged it to make sure that would meet our needs. There's no doubt about that. But we did experience a little bit of pressure from the business to look at like solutions such as Zoom and stuff like that. We did some, I would say, short gap analysis between Zoom and what we had on-prem. Not to say that it wasn't a good solution or a bad solution. It just didn't line up with that path, and when we just had the bigger vision too of that one client.
Right. Because as I understand it, and you may be able to help us sort of stage this transition, you'd been using Link, then all of a sudden in February or March of 2020, you made a mad push to Teams, like many did, at least for collab. Can you give us that sort of life cycle of how you managed to move that quickly, and then how you pretty quickly after that turned to the voice workload?
Yeah, so you're right, Chris. We were already, the good news was we were already planning for Teams before COVID hit. And we were able to really, I would say, fast track in the collaboration piece within about 30 to 60 days. We worked a lot of hours. We tried to really leverage best practices such as small proof of concepts, pilots, as quickly as possible. We did leverage our Microsoft team and our enabling team to help us with some critical questions we had. So, I think the key was we just all came together as a group and knew it needed to happen, and how important that type of collaboration was going to be. Going back a little bit there, we had already started talking before COVID about the Teams phone system, and we had actually done engagements with both Microsoft and Enabling to do some planning work.
Can you kind of outline how you justified the expense and received funding for this project? And if you could, Milliman's a distributed organization with lots of sites, and most of those had their own phone system, phone trunking services in. And that's one model that you could have kind of stuck with, direct routing. But as I understand it, you've directed and have had success with the calling plans. Can you kind of give us the whole context and then specifics around that decision?
Yeah, so the justification part first, I'll talk about. I thought it would actually be more difficult, to be honest with you. It was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer on the Link stuff, right? That was a natural progression. I didn't have any resistance at all. I expected to get some resistance as we started to go out and talk to the different business owners and leadership throughout Milliman, about, hey, no, I don't want to give up my phone system. I don't want to, we don't want to have a central entity, because this wasn't just a fundamental shift in technology. It was also a culture change. Those Link phone systems in the past were distributedly supported. When Teams came along, we were very transparent with our IT staff across the board and our business stakeholders that this was going to be a centralized support model. So, so a lot of change came about it. But however, I quickly found out Nobody wants to support a phone system. So, I've had zero resistance to here, take my phone system, and I'm not joking. I just have not had anybody really try to put their arms around their phone system and hold on to it. So I'm very fortunate in that way that they've had that great opportunity. I can now, if you want me to, Chris, I can elaborate on the whole direct routing versus cloud piece. So that was,
you were sort of a trendsetter in that respect.
yeah, we sat down strategically, myself and my technical leadership sat down and said, if we're going to do this, let's not try to stick with the past. Let's try to make let's stretch ourselves. Let's lean into it and see if we can make a move to the future here. And that was really important to us. So we work with Microsoft, we work with enabling, we did design, we worked out across our businesses, and we did find one or two locations that were willing to be, I guess you're going to call them the guinea pig, you want to say, or the test rabbit, I don't know, something. They were going to test for us. They were going to be our pilot, and we were going to go out and we were going to put the full cloud PBX solution in for them with phone system dial plans. We would work with enabling a Microsoft to make sure that we did all the right things for all the routing groups, auto attendance. We just put it in as a full phone system in the 2 locations as a pilot, and we got nothing. Over a 90-day to 120-day period, we got nothing but positive review.
How did you prep your users for the change, and particularly those that were coming off of a third-party phone system, not a Microsoft service?
Well, you know what? We didn't treat them any different. We did a couple of things, right? We have an internal training team, and we also partnered too with enabling on some training resources as well. We knew that to succeed, we needed to train people. It's been part of our project and program management plan. We train people at the right time. We do follow-ups. We give them, we hit them as much as we can, and we made a program out of it, Chris. And it seems to have gone very well for us.
Can you elaborate on some of the benefits you're seeing?
Yeah. So I would say some of the biggest benefits we're seeing is just the fact that people have a phone at home now, right? They can get their calls, they can do their work at home now. In some cases, we did see cost savings. That wasn't a huge driver for us, but it was a component. But in some cases, we found out through this journey so far that a lot of our practices and stuff like these locations are paying huge amounts for support contracts. And by the time we sat down and did the analysis and the math for them, that we ended up saving them a lot of money. So it's kind of a nice side effect. So that has been a benefit. We've also seen the benefit of some centralized administration. I think it's just some good feedback I've got from IT workers out there. They tell me that, hey, Matt, we are not spending time taking care of that phone system anymore. We're able to do other more important things.
Very good. So what's the user response been in general?
The feedback from the training sessions and the surveys we sent out have been very, very positive. I'm really quite amazed at how much they welcomed it.
But it also helps that they're already using Teams as a platform to begin with, right?
Yeah, it's all built into the one client. They like it, they get it. It's pretty easy to use. They have a lot more control over how they manage their voicemail, how they manage their rules, how they forward it, how they out of office. It's been really good. Our users have been really they've received this very well. I'm really quite shocked.
Terrific. Has there been any specific use cases besides the work from home, or specific groups and users are getting the most value out of this change?
The most people who are benefiting from this are the people that are saving a lot of money. And they're the ones that speak up the most. Those are the ones I hear from. It's like, oh, thank you for saving us, a lot of good. I mean, some cases it could be 6 figures over a 3, 4, or 5 year support contract. So, it's been important.
Great. What are some of the concerns you'd had coming into the project, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So I had really two big, I'm not gonna say call them concerns, but just more questions. I was not sure about how cloud phone system would compete against direct routing. I was concerned how it would perform. I think a lot of us were, because we had come out of the direct routing model, and that was pretty stable, right? It's a hardwire. We got it, SIP trunk, here you go. But we overcame that with our proof of concepts. But the other thing too, I will say, Chris, that there's a lot of regulatory around E911. We had to do a lot of diligence around there. I had I'm not going to say concerns, but a lot of questions to make sure that we did our diligence for Kate's laws and the Rebomb Act, and making sure that was integrated into what we did. to make sure that we had everything configured. And there was a good learning curve on how to get the back end of teams done. We talked with partners like Intrado and yourself and Microsoft. We spent a lot of time learning about that, but we finally got past that and got that nailed down. It's incorporated in what we do now. It's part of the configuration. It's part of the program and project, and our users are also trained. We partnered with our legal team to make sure that we had all our bases covered. So those were the two big things that I had really concerns about that would have been showstoppers, in my opinion.
You've mentioned enabling a couple times, Matt. Can you kind of summarize how we helped?
When I came into Milliman, enabling already had a well-established relationship with Milliman. So it was a logical progression to maintain that relationship. You guys definitely brought a lot of engineering resources we did not have. I will say too, though, we did partner with enabling on the training piece, which was key, and they did a great job for us. That was, we quickly determined, and our internal training team realized that Teams was not their expertise. So we were able to leverage the in-house expertise of enabling to help make a customized training for Milliman. And that was been received very well.
Any last advice you'd give for other firms with similar challenges and with similar ideas about moving to Teams?
Yeah. I think there's two things that really stuck out to me throughout this whole thing. A big reason for our successes was the fact that we took the time to ensure that we had a strong program and project management team in place. Right. We really thought through, our different phases, our different groups, our different cuts, how we were going to do this, who our resources were, how we were going to line it up. Timing is critical in a project like this. Letters of authorizations, is critical, delivering numbers from one provider to the other. So you can if you don't do that, your project may not be successful as you want it to be. So timing is very important in this project. Program project management is key. The last thing I would say too is that it's really we never were afraid. We leveraged both of our Microsoft account team and enabling partner to work through a lot of the challenges that we face. Don't feel that you have to take this on yourself. You shouldn't. There's a lot of great resources from both Microsoft and enabling that helped us traverse some very challenging questions on configuration, on just the fundamentals of licensing, of how we license it. So yeah, I would say that partnership and organization are key.
Well, we appreciate that too, Matthew. Throughout the years, it's been a pleasure working with you and Milliman, and thank you for spending some time sharing with us in this case study today.
Yeah, you're welcome, Chris. Thanks for having me.